Mike, how far can this Eagle team go this year?
Oh, I mean, my God. Well, listen, we know we start up front. The O-line is playing well, obviously. Kelsey, obviously, he had to get his elbow cleaned out, but that shouldn't keep. The dude's been playing, with duct tape and chicken wire for how many years? He's as tough as they come. He probably ends the year at about 250. I mean, the dude's unreal. The D-line is a good D-line, pass rushing. They get stronger with Jordan Davis, who I covered a couple of Georgia games last year.
Exhibition football, like I said, not looking so much at the scoreboard, but looking at approaches and how teams are going to try to approach the upcoming season. And who better to do that with than our friend Mike Golic here, legendary broadcaster, former Eagle himself. I appreciate you doing this, Mike. Mike, am I right when I say that about the exhibition season? It's not so much about the score. You just want to see the new guys and some of the approach that you're going to see this year, especially with this Eagle team.
Well, I mean, listen, it has nothing to do with the score as far as I'm concerned. And, listen, I was a 10th rounder, so it was about, doing what I was supposed to do on the field to make the team. So from an individual standpoint, you have different things you're looking for, guys who are secure in their job. And I would say in my 9-year career, maybe 5 of those years, I felt pretty secure. The other years felt like I was fighting for a job. So it's guys that are secure, the stars, guys who are somewhat secure, and guys who are fighting their butt off every day, just to hope that they don't get that knock on the door or that phone call at the end of camp before the season starts that says they're cut. But what teams, what fans are concerned about are teams. And, is there a quarterback battle going on? Is there a different position battle going on? Other than that, you want to see your players get up after every play. Whether it's a practice together with them, which I think those are fantastic now, quite honestly, probably better than the preseason games. And then the preseason games get your reps in and get out, because you need to find backups. You got to, because understand a lot of rosters are set in different ways already by number. You get 53, obviously, and each team already basically knows a lot of who they're going to be. Some are fighting for a different position. But you got to know who those guys are going to be if that starter gets hurt and it takes one play. We've already seen, guys go down. Mekhi Becton for the second year in a row, the right tackle for the Jets, done. So who's next? Step up. You get your chance. So while a lot of people aren't really, ecstatic about watching preseason games, especially the third and fourth quarter, since I was a 10th rounder, my son Mike was an undrafted free agent. I've always felt a special kinship to kind of watching those quarters and watching some guy you've never heard of make a big play and hopefully make a team.
Mike, help me out on the history of this here. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were in Houston first with the Oilers.
Yeah.
Did you feel, Mike, because, I mean, look, they had Doug Smith. They had some really talented people on that O-line, on that D-line, even on the O-line. Munchak's there, Bruce Matthews. Oh, yeah. That was a hell of a football team. So did you feel, did you know, because some of the Eagle guys that are going to be backups tonight and some of the guys, like you said, are going to be playing tonight, did you also feel you needed to put game tape on? You really needed to play, and you were auditioning, maybe not just for the Oilers, but also for the rest of the league?
I wasn't smart enough to think I was auditioning for the rest of the league my rookie year. I was just do every play well, look good on tape. I tell young players who are going to go into the draft after I'm doing bowl games or something years ago when I was doing the bowl games, they would say, what's the key? And I said, one of the keys is in practice that night, make the coach stop the tape and run it over because you did something well. You only, especially when you're undrafted or a low draft pick, you don't get many reps. Now, what helps is it's a 90-man roster. When I was playing, you could have 120 guys on the roster. So you didn't get a lot of reps. And now it's tougher for the guys that don't have, that are lower drafted because you can't go 2 practices in a row hitting. So the one practice hitting, you probably let your starters do more of that. And then the second practice, you don't even have helmets on. You can't show anything then. So Dan, I went brought up from my dad, and my brother Bob was in the league at that point. You go balls out every single play and you try and get that win. And then when you get in that preseason game, man, you got to make those plays count because you've been on the field. I mean, I say this all the time. Players know when you screw up on the field. I screw up on the field, and I'm like, oh, God, that's going to look horrible on film. And when you're a 10th round pick and you're saying that in a preseason game, you start to worry a little bit. So these guys, I mean, and that's the tough part, because I get fans, they don't care, and I get it. But God, for a lot of those players in these games, this is their career. I mean, this is what they're fighting to do. If they don't get to do it here, maybe somewhere else. But at some point, the clock runs out. For some of these guys, it's their last chance.
Mike, how far can this Eagle team go this year?
Oh, I mean, my God. Well, listen, we know we start up front. The O-line is playing well, obviously. Kelsey, obviously, he had to get his elbow cleaned out, but that shouldn't keep. The dude's been playing, with duct tape and chicken wire for how many years? He's as tough as they come. He probably ends the year at about 250. I mean, the dude's unreal. The D-line is a good D-line, pass rushing. They get stronger with Jordan Davis, who I covered a couple of Georgia games last year, and his ability to push the pocket there. I mean, I think they can take out the Cowboys. I still don't understand why the Cowboys got rid of Amari Cooper. You don't know where Zeke is right now. It's a big year for Zeke. That O-line, you still have Smith, you still have Zach Martin, who are getting older, but they're great. But how are the next guys going to do that are filling in those spots? So Jalen Hurts, man, I mean, he's got weapons now on the outside. He can run as well. A lot's going to be on his plate, because this team is ready to make a move now this year, and I think they can, and that heaps even more pressure on the quarterback.
You think he's the guy, Mike? You think Jalen Hurts could be a franchise guy?
I get asked this all the time to compare Jalen and Tua, of which one I think has a better chance of being the guy, and I think Jalen does, in all honesty. I think he can, but what helps is the talent around him. Now, Miami has got some good talent around Tua. The defense is playing well. The O-line has been an issue. They're getting better. You get Tyreek Hill to go with Waddle. That's certainly going to help you a lot. So that's going to help Tua. I just have more confidence in Jalen behind that line and with that team right now and what they're going to do. I do think he can. And listen, it's a big year for him. It's a big year for a guy like Tua, for a franchise to say, yes, this is going to be our guy that we're going to invest in. And I do think Jalen can be that guy.
Mike, when you look at all the new faces that are on the defense, you get James Bradbury on a one-year deal. You're adding Haason Reddick in. Here's the thing about Reddick, Mike. I mean, this is the third team in 3 years. It goes from now productive, though. Double-digit sacks in Arizona, double-digit sacks in Carolina. But I've always thought, Mike, with Haason Reddick, that you look at him and you go, he's 6'1", he's 250. Mike, he's one of those Kevin Green kind of, you've got to, like Teddy Bruschi, where you're that tweener guy and you don't know if he's an every down guy or if he's just a situational pass rusher, because you're not going to line him up on a 6'6" offensive tackle for 17 weeks, Mike.
No, you're not.
Bases. Are you concerned?
No. The reason I'm not is I think they have depth on that line. And any great line has rotation. You bring guys in or you use them situationally. And I do think that they have the ability to do that. Now obviously we're going with getting Jordan Davis the way they did as well, but Graham and Cox and Hargrave, and obviously Davis rotating in there. So you have guys rotating in, and who's going to rotate with Haason Reddick? He's not going to play 80 plays, but when you get 12 and a half sacks 2 years ago, 11 sacks last year, that's what you need to do. And sure, you need to stop the run as well, but that's what you have a rotation system for, that when that offense, the opposing offense is in a passing situation, that Reddick needs to be on the field because he can rush the passer. Because I get it. I get that tweener role. I mean, hell, the tweener role used to have no place in the NFL. Yeah. Now there are these pass rushers, but they're very specific, but they have a role. And this guy has monopolized on that with these little one-year deals going around. I'm sure he'd like a monster deal to go with that as well. But no, I think as long as you have a number of players to rotate on a D line, that he can be used effectively.
Mike, a couple NFL questions here for you. Cleveland Browns, do you think they regret, if they had to do it all over again, do you think that they regret putting the investment and putting that money out there like that and all the commodities and all the draft choices that they put into this? Do you think they regret it if they had to go back and do it again?
For Deshaun?
Yeah.
No, because I mean that's a long-term play. It's not a one-year play, and I think,
So they were prepared for this. You think they knew that it could be here?
Yes, I think, and quite honestly, Jacoby Brissett. Check out Jacoby Brissett's stats if he starts. anytime he started double-digit games or more, he's never thrown more than double-digit interceptions. So he doesn't turn the ball over. They have a great O-line, a great running game, an athletic tight end, an excellent defense. So they don't need him to be a superstar. Now, to get as far as you want to go in the NFL, and that's a Super Bowl, they would probably need a quarterback like Deshaun who could be that playmaker. But I still think he can carry him. And when it was the first 6 games, you thought, okay, those first 6 games, if Deshaun missed them, there was Carolina, there was Atlanta, there was the Jets. The only division game was Pittsburgh, the worst, I think, in that division. You could get by that. But I have a feeling it may be the year now. And if it's the year, then don't be surprised if they trade for a Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
And try and go down that road because they have talent now to win. I think they can win some with Jacoby Brissett. Certainly, Jimmy Garoppolo has proven he can take a team, pretty far. He just has trouble closing the deal. And those teams he had in San Fran were good running teams. He had good receivers as well. They had a really good defense. So you can have that in Cleveland. So that will be interesting to me if it's a long suspension now. Will they go for Jimmy Garoppolo? But I still do not think they will regret trading for him.
You know what, Mike? You mentioned San Francisco, and I said this to John Lynch a couple days ago on a text. I'm like, so you're dumping a guy with the playoffs 5-2. That's 38-16, and your coach is 7-28 without him as a head coach for a guy that, Mike, I had to go get YouTube on Trey Lance because there were not a lot of game film on the kid from North Dakota State. And I'm like, okay, I get you traded all those assets away to Miami, but boy, what a gamble, no?
Oh, I agree. And then to trade up for him, right?
Yep.
To grab him. I was kind of shocked at that move. And everybody talks about the high ceiling Trey Lance could have, but we haven't seen anything yet. We saw him in spot duty. But the thing is, we don't know in practice. I remember texting with Andy Reid years ago, and we would text back and forth occasionally about Pat Mahomes when he was a rookie, when he wasn't playing, when Alex Smith was playing, saying this guy in practice is unbelievable. What he's doing, wait till you see this guy play. I mean, now I haven't heard any of that in San Francisco. Now I haven't been texting anybody in San Francisco, but you haven't heard coming out of there, wow, you should see this guy practice, and man, can't wait to see what he's going to do. And I don't know. And Jimmy was a winner, but he had trouble getting over that hump, and he's starting to get nicked up. He was good for missing a few games a year. But I'm with you. I mean, but when you make that move, when you especially trade to go up to number 3, you are saying you are not putting it in pencil. You are putting it in indelible ink. This guy is going to be our franchise at some point, and they chose to do it now. I'm sure while they could maybe thought they could get a lot, more for Garoppolo, but Garoppolo, obviously the shoulder surgery, and now, we're waiting to see what happens. They're not going to get a ton for him at all. So you wondered at some point, because I know John said it, you don't know how true it is, we can absorb that $25 million. We're okay with Garoppolo's $25 million, because wouldn't you love to have that guy sitting there in case Trey Lance isn't ready to go? Because this is San Francisco team, again, that has some talent. You don't want to waste a year with a quarterback trying to grow into this position.
Mike, finally here. I had a conversation with Seth on our show a couple days ago, Seth Joyner.
Yeah.
And I told him this. I said, Seth, the 1985 Bears, the gangrene defense, the Ravens defense, or that Buck defense.
Yeah.
Probably the best defenses, Mike, we've seen you and I playing and covering them. What was it like being on that gangrene? And where do you put that defense in the category with those other teams?
Well, you mentioned all the other ones, and people get mad at me when I say this, is I can't put them as high because even though you're 1/3 of offense, defense, special teams, what did all those other teams do?
Championship.
They won a championship. We never got to an NFC championship game. The furthest we got was we beat the Saints in the wild card game, got the divisional game, and got beat pretty bad in Dallas when Dallas went on to win their first of 2 in a row in 92 and 93. So we never closed the deal. But let me tell you, that group of talent, from that line of Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Jerome Brown and Seth Joyner and Eric Allen, Andre Waters, Wes Hopkins. I mean,
Jesus.
It was let me tell you about I should say Reggie's the best player I've ever seen. I've ever played with. I know people talk about Lawrence Taylor, and there's that battle back and forth. Who's the best defender ever? I got to see up close and personal what Reggie could do. God rest his soul. But playing with those guys, Seth Joyner was one of the best and most prepared and smartest players I ever played with. God knows he was physical enough. He looked like an axe murderer all the time. He never smiled on or off the field. I still see him now, and I say, Seth, you got to smile more. I said, people are afraid of you. He goes, why? I said, you're big and you walk around. I said, if I took a picture, you could be used as a mugshot.
Mike, you should see him on a postgame show.
I know.
What'd you say? Hey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's unbelievable. And people always said, oh, he'd be a great coach. I said, no, he wouldn't. Not because he couldn't coach. He would get so ticked off when the players he was coaching weren't doing what he said to the way he wanted it done. He would blow his stack. So, but this dude watched more film, knew everybody's position, was so prepared. He was, and he put it on you. He'd say, you damn well better know what you're doing as well. He was a great leader. We had a lot of great leaders on that defense, but Seth was something else. But listen, what can I say? It was fantastic. Here's an average defensive player playing with these unbelievably great players of that era or all time. I mean, it was, and this was before free agency. So we were all got to be good friends as well because we were together for 6-7 years because there was no free agency. So a lot of us were friends as well as teammates.
What's this, Mike? $25 million for Reggie, 18, 15 for Clyde. Jerome's going to be in the $20 million range.
Yeah.
Seth is going to be in the $15 million range. Well, all those guys that they couldn't keep that defense together today.
No, that would have been the problem. I mean, is the cap. I mean, now the first year of free agency, though, was 93, and 11 of us were free agents, and Norman Brayman, the owner, then didn't keep any of us. Reggie was the big one, obviously, to go. He didn't want to spend the money. He was kind of an absentee owner. But you're right. In today's game, this defense, once contracts started coming up, never would have been able to stay together because those guys would have obviously deserved. We didn't even throw in Eric Allen out at the cornerback position of what he would have got. So, yeah, it never would have been able to stay together. But we got to for a while, and that's obviously our biggest regret that we never got to cap that off with a Super Bowl win.
What did Jerome call the guy in France?
Guy in France, and he was. He was either in Florida at his dealerships or in France. I mean, he truly was an absentee owner. He was a bottom line guy. And listen, he owned the team. He's allowed to do it however he wants. But, yeah, to have 11 free agents in year one and not re-sign any of them, especially Reggie White, yeah, I don't think that was the best move in the world. 2
minutes, Mike, on Notre Dame. What do you expect? And I voted, by the way, my preseason ballot, I put him 5th. I think there's going to be an energy at Notre Dame, in my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. You're around the program way more than I am. I think there's going to be an energy, and get this, okay, it's us against the world kind of mentality after what happened with the coach. And I think there's a lot of talent in Notre Dame, and I think this could be one of the better teams that they've had in about 10 years.
Well, the tough part will be, the quarterback position. You got a couple of quarterbacks, fighting to be the starter for now a couple of years since Ian Book started for what seemed like 10 years. You've had quarterback. Tommy Riccio coordinators had to deal with different quarterbacks. The O-line is going to be much better. Getting Harry Hiestand back as their coach was a phenomenal move. They have studs on every level on the defensive side. They have the best tight end between Bowers from Georgia and Mayer from Notre Dame. They're the two best tight ends in all of college football. Yeah, I mean, Marcus is a great guy. Marcus has a ton of energy. Marcus does an incredible job of recruiting, but we all know how that goes. It comes down to wins and losses. So you can be the greatest guy in the world, but if you don't put the wins there, then it doesn't matter. But he's just starting. And the players, are ready to go. But what a tough start. While you put ND at 5, what'd you put Ohio State? 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's who they open up with. At Ohio State, week 1, Marcus Freeman's alma mater. So that's a tough go right out of the gate. But the enthusiasm here, because, listen, Brian Kelly chose to leave. It's his choice. He chose to leave. Marcus was hired, and the players absolutely went nuts. They love the guy. Was only here 1 year as a DC, but he's a recruit. He recruits incredibly well. So the hopes are very, very high here. No doubt about it.
Yeah, Mike, I'll tell you what now, down in Baton Rouge, everything is – I was like, The guy's from the land of maple syrup. What are you talking about, Cajun? Hey, how you doing down there?
Yeah.
I was like,
there's been some interesting things there, as well as him really not getting the recruits even in Louisiana.
How about all the dudes leaving? How about all the guys jumping in the portal? 20 some odd guys bailing on that. I mean, they're kind of keeping that under the radar, but people are telling me, Mario Cristobal tells me all the time, he goes, hey, man, your boy Brian Kelly, 23 guys are in that transfer portal.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Now, listen, he secured a big bag there for sure, but let's see. I mean, now you're in that SEC where you can get better players consistently year round, but you're playing, the Bamas and the Georgias of the world, and you're in the SEC. It could be an eye-opening experience for him.
What's up? What's coming up for you this fall, Mike?
I'm going to call games for Westwood One, the national radio games. I'll probably do the NBC, the Sunday night games. I'll probably go do those for Westwood One Radio. Do that for the season, do the playoffs, do the Super Bowl. Still doing podcasts for DraftKings as well. Me and my son Mike, he's doing his, I'm doing mine. So just staying in it enough to be in it. Not getting up at 4. Yeah, thanks. Not getting up at 4:15 every day, which is nice. So it can keep me youthful looking.
Yeah, you're not a vampire anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all good. Hey, Mike, thank you so much for spending so much time with us, man. I so appreciate our friendship. Thank you, my friend. Have a successful season.
Thanks, Dan. I'll talk to you.
You got it. That is our friend Mike Golic. Yeah, very cool. Very cool for him to spend that time with us. Thank you so much there. Again, check him out, too, this coming fall there on Westwood One. Hey, my friends, do me a favor. Check out our friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. Been telling you this now for months. Listen, if you're in the market right now for getting an attorney, if you've been hurt or injured on the job, one of the most important things that you can possibly do is getting an attorney and a firm that will be 100% behind you. That's right. For the people, it's not a slogan. This is who they are. The biggest firm in the country with over 800 attorneys strong, making them the biggest law firm in the country, ready to do battle for you. And offices in Philly, New York, and in Florida. My friends, Morgan & Morgan has been collecting money for their clients for the past 30 years to the tune of $13.5 billion. Call them at 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. The call is free. The consultation's free. Do me a favor. When you do that, know this. They're open 24/7, 7 days a week. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Dan Sileo sent you.
Many times when people are injured at a place of business, they don't realize they may have a case. The fact is, injuries should not happen. And most of the time when someone is injured, someone is at fault. Maybe the store manager installed a cheap, slippery floor, or there wasn't proper security. After an injury at a hotel, restaurant, store, or any place of business, it's so important to call us. Time matters, size matters. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.